Hi everyone, welcome to another video. In this one, we are going to talk about recurrent implantation failures. My name is Dr. Surakshit Patina, and I'm going to talk to you about what are the investigations which are available right now and what could be its possible treatment options. Before we start off with the video, I wanted to thank you so much for showing me a lot of support. We are close to 1,000 followers now, so thank you for the support, guys. It really means a lot to us. Unfortunately, there is no standard definition for recurrent implantation failure. In some clinics, it's around 10 failures. For some others, it's 7. For some others, it is 2. At Indigo Women's Center, we have standardized it to 3 implantation failures for a woman who is below 40 years of age with very good endometrial thickness and very good morphologically normal looking embryos. The worldwide incidence of recurrent implantation failure is said to be about 5%, although the true incidence can never be known. And at our facility in Indigo Women's Center, we deal with around 3 to 4% of patients who have recurrent implantation failures. For a successful implantation to occur, several factors should work harmoniously with each other. First and foremost, the endometrial thickness should be good, the endometrial blood flow should be great, the embryo quality should be fantastic, and the timing should be absolutely perfect. This is also called as the window of implantation. Before we start discussing about recurrent implantation failure, what are its investigations and treatment options, we need to understand that recurrent implantation failure and bad obstetric history, also known as recurrent pregnancy losses, are completely different entities. Recurrent implantation failure is fertility related, which means the patient has never conceived so far, whereas recurrent implantation failure is when the patient has already conceived, but unfortunately the pregnancy does not carry on to term because of several other factors. If you want me to make a separate video on bad obstetric history, also known as recurrent pregnancy losses, do let me know in the comments down below. Hysteroscopy is an indispensable tool for the fight against recurrent implantation failures. In our practice at Indigo Women's Center, about 30% of women who are supposed to go in for an IVF treatment, when subjected to a hysteroscopy, we have found pathologies like an arcuate uterus or a T-shaped uterus, a subseptate uterus, or even a polyp. When corrected, can definitely help in the implantation rates. Although there are no studies to show that an adenomyotic uterus can have a better implantation after adenomyotic resection, in our patients we have found a very good implantation rate for a patient who has undergone an adenomyotic surgery. Genetic factors have a very huge role to play with implantation, so I think it is a no-brainer for anybody who is having recurrent implantation failures for more than 3 times to undergo a karyotyping to know whether if either of the couples have some kind of genetic abnormalities. Several immunological factors can play a huge role in recurrent implantation failures. That is why we take the help of a hematologist to help us with the same, and there are an array of immunological tests which can be done, like antiphospholipid antibodies, anticardiolipin antibodies, T1, T2 helper cell ratios, natural killer cells, CD56, interleukin levels, the list goes on and on. But recently a lot of studies have been done in placenta specific protein 1, and increased level of this PSP1 has been shown in patients with recurrent implantation failures. The gynecologist will usually start them off on aspirin and low molecular weight heparin, and the hematologist will also come into the picture where they start the patient either on IV immunoglobulin therapy, or the patient can also be started on intralipid therapy, and both of these have shown some beneficial effects for the women. Recently a lot of studies have been done in the subcutaneous injections of intralipids, and definitely a lot more research is required in this particular field. Another important test which has been brought out from the unexplained infertility domain to the recurrent implantation domain is the sperm DNA fragmentation. Some male partners of couples who are suffering from unexplained infertility and recurrent implantation failures have found to have very high levels of DFI, and all of these individuals can do very well with the starting of antioxidant therapy and lifestyle changes. One specific test which we have to do for our Indian women with recurrent implantation failures is the sampling of endometrium for tuberculosis. Subclinical tuberculosis is unfortunately underdiagnosed in India, and thus sampling of the endometrium goes a long way, because we can start off the patients on ATT treatment for 6 months, and after which when we go ahead and try for an implantation, it might definitely be more successful. Another test which has been widely used nowadays is the endometrial receptivity assay, which is also known as the ERA biopsy. Unfortunately, very less information is known about the significance of this, but definitely in our practice we have found that around 20 to 30% of women with recurrent implantation failures definitely benefited from doing an ERA biopsy. For patients who have very thin endometrium, GCSF and steroids have been tried with variable results. More studies are needed to actually make a recommendation on this front. Now that we have completed assessing the soil, let's go ahead and assess the seed. Patients suffering from recurrent implantation failures can make their embryos get biopsied either by PGS or PGTA, and both of these will help us determine the euploid status of the embryo. PGS and PGTA is a completely huge topic all in itself, and if you want me to make a video on that, do let me know in the comments down below. Thankfully, newer technologies are being developed where we do not have to biopsy the embryo anymore, and this non-invasive PGS looks very promising for the future. And finally, we are coming to embryoscopy, also known as a time lapse. If you have an opportunity, please go ahead and have a look at the time lapse of an embryo. It looks absolutely beautiful. So what we can do is we can determine which embryo can have a better chance of implantation by using this time lapse technology. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you got some good information out of this. If you did, go ahead, leave a like, leave a thumbs up on this video, and if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do that right now. Let's reach 1,000 subscribers, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.